Today, I'm going to show you the easiest technique that you can use right now to improve your English speaking skills. It's called the shadowing technique, and you're about to learn everything you need to know. So let's get cracking. Alright everyone, my name is Dan, and I'm here to help you stop being an English student and start being an English speaker. Today's lesson is all about the shadowing technique. We're going to cover what it is, why you need to be doing it, and even at the end of the video, I've got some bonus tips to help you take it to the next level. But before we get into that, I want to remind you there's a free downloadable cheat sheet waiting for you with all the information from this video. You can get it using the link in the description. So everybody wants to improve their English speaking skills, right? And I know that's not an easy task for most students because they don't really know how to practice their speaking skills. There are loads of methods out there, but today we're focusing on the shadowing technique. And I think it's one of the most powerful ways that you can practice English speaking, even if you're on your own. So the first thing we need to talk about is what is the shadowing technique, right? What is it? And at its simplest form, the shadowing technique is listen and repeat. Sounds simple, and that's because it is. What you're going to do is you're going to listen to something and you're going to copy it, and you're going to practice copying what that person said. You're going to practice the intonation, the pronunciation, the word stress, and you're going to do this over and over again, and over time you'll find that all of these skills improve. In order to get started with the shadowing technique, you're going to need three things. The first thing, you need a quiet space that you can practice in where you're not going to be disturbed. You know, a football stadium or a crowded train, probably not a good place to do this, but you know, your bedroom or something like that should be fine. Second, you're also going to need a little bit of free time. This technique does take some time to actually practice, so make sure you set aside 10 to 15 minutes every time you want to use this technique. And the last thing you're going to need is some kind of audio that you can listen to and use to practice with. And at this point, people usually ask me, what audio? And the answer is quite simple. Whatever audio you like, well, as long as it's in English, you know, TV shows, movies, radio, podcast, audiobooks, whatever you like will be perfect. So now we know what it is, you might be asking yourself, why is the shadowing technique good? How can such a basic technique actually help me? Well, there are actually loads of benefits when it comes to the shadowing technique. Now, the first thing you're going to improve is your muscle memory. In English, there are certain sounds that probably don't exist in your native language. If you want to make those sounds, you need to move your face and your mouth and your tongue in new ways. And the best way to do that is to train them. Like anything when it comes to muscles, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Imagine if you go to the gym and start lifting weights, it's really difficult. If you go to the gym every day for a year, after a year, it's probably much easier. And the same thing applies to the muscles in your face and your mouth and in your tongue. The good news is, shadowing will help you with all of this stuff. Another thing that the shadowing technique will help you with is learning stress. Now, English is a stress-based language, and that means that the word stress or the stress in the sentence can make a big difference to the understanding or the meaning of what is being said. However, learning word stress and sentence stress is not easy. You can't just pick up a textbook and read it. It's the kind of thing that takes a lot of practice to perfect. And that's why the shadowing technique is perfect for learning stress. Over time, after sentence after sentence after sentence, you're going to get a really good understanding of how native speakers use word stress to emphasize or change the meaning of a sentence. Another thing that the shadowing technique will help you with is the reduction of your natural accent and improving your pronunciation. Now, I'm not suggesting that you need to get rid of your natural accent. If you're born in Japan, it's natural to have a bit of a Japanese accent. If you're born in Brazil, you're going to have a Brazilian accent. That's natural and there's nothing wrong with that. However, if your accent is stopping you from being understood by other speakers, then it becomes a problem. So when you copy a native speaker's accent over and over again, you're going to naturally improve your pronunciation and you're going to help neutralize your natural accent a little bit to make it easier for other people to understand. But, I just want to say this again. It's okay to have a non-English accent when you're speaking in English. Now, if you're enjoying this video, please do me a favor, head down there and smash that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. And it'll also help YouTube recommend this video to other people. And that's going to help everyone. And that's a good thing. So far, we've talked about what the shadowing technique is. We've also discussed why it's a good thing. But we haven't actually talked about how to do it yet. So let me break it down for you. The shadowing technique can basically be done in 3 simple steps. Step 1. Find some kind of audio that you want to use for practice material. Even better if that audio has also got some kind of subtitles or transcript that you can use. Step 2, listen to it. Just listen to it all the way through. Now step 3, go back to the beginning, press play, and at the end of the sentence, press pause and copy what was said. Pay attention to the pronunciation, pay attention to the word stress, pay attention to the overall sentence stress and copy it. Repeat it 3, 5, 10 times if you need to. Continue, play, pause, repeat until you get to the end and Bob's your uncle. That's the shadowing technique. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, I think you deserve a little reward. And that's why I've got some extra bonus tips to help you make the most of the shadowing technique. Tip number 1, make sure that you're using good quality audio from native speakers. Find a native speaker that you like. Could be anyone. Maybe you like their accent, maybe you like the way they say words, maybe you just enjoy listening to them. In that case, that is a great idea to use for shadowing practice. Now, you could use non-native speakers if you want to, but then you run the risk of actually picking up bad habits because maybe they've already got a bad habit and you're going to copy it. And that seems like a bad idea, so I do recommend native speakers where possible. And if you want to practice with me, check out my Patreon in the description. I put up shadowing material all the time that you can use to practice. Another tip is don't worry too much about the meaning of what you're saying. The idea here is to practice speaking. We're not trying to learn new words or new grammar or this idiom that they said. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter if you understand it. We're just using it as a tool to practice moving muscles. Now, another tip I've got for you is to not do this too much, right? It's not very often a teacher tells you not to study so much, but this is not the kind of technique that you need to be spending an hour on every single day. That's not what this is about. This technique is something that should be part of your bigger study strategy. Just a small part of it. Maybe, 10 to 15 minutes, 2 times a week should be enough. Don't go overboard. And the last tip I've got for you is to actually record yourself doing it, right? Because if you're just practicing copying somebody, you don't really know if you're getting it right. However, if you record yourself on your smartphone or whatever, you can then listen back to it and think, oh, that does sound similar, or actually, that's nothing like that. I need to try that again. Now, I know the first time you listen back to your own voice, it's weird and, it makes you cringe and you hate it, but I promise you, doing this and listening back to it is the best way to improve your speaking. Now, this technique will help take the frustration out of practicing speaking, but what about all the other stuff that you need to practice to improve your English? I suggest you check out this video over here to learn how to fix the most common frustrations that all English learners face.